want to welcome everybody to the Real Estate Pulse webinar. My name is Cynthia Mwangi. I am from Kenya, Nairobi, and I will be your moderator and host for the day. Now, we have planned a wonderful schedule for you today to help you figure out how, where, when, what are the modalities of owning a home or property in Kenya or remotely for that matter. Now, we brought in quite a number of people who will help us navigate this. And it can be a very murky space. So we want to make sure that the people we brought in will be able to answer those difficult questions, will be able to help you navigate and ask those challenging questions that you can't figure out. And you keep wondering, who do I ask? What if they're lying? What if they're not? What happens then? And we have brought in very good partners who will help us walk this journey. And some of this include, of course, our very own host, that is the African Diaspora Pulse. And allow me to welcome these people who have allowed us very kindly to be able to have this. And we have two of those. We have the Afro Diaspora Pulse, and of course, Guri Build, who have made this webinar very, very possible. Of course, allow me to let you know who Afro Diaspora Pulse is. Now, this is the premier platform that is dedicated not just to connecting, but to elevating and celebrating Africans in the diaspora and individuals of African descent. Of course, this has a focus on empowering the global African community, and the platform delivers very engaging content, insightful stories, and transformative opportunities like this one that foster growth and connection, and of course, cultural pride. And this is why we're here. We're connecting, we're trying to grow. And of course, we're becoming better people. And of course, there is Guri Build, who are the purpose of why we are here. And because I don't want to water it down, of course, I will be welcoming the CEO of Guri Build. His name is Kinyanjui Kenneth. He will be walking us through who he is, who Guri is, what are the things that we need to know about it. And of course, the purpose of this webinar, if you'll allow me, is to not just empower you, but to enable, especially Kenyans in the diaspora, to build and invest back home. Because at the end of the day, you feel that need to be connected to home, right? So this is the reason why we're doing this. Every so often you feel, I have to go back home. And when you're thinking about it, it's like, but what is at home? Is it the same way that you left it? Do you want to feel like when you get there, you don't want to miss the things that you had in whichever part of the country or the continent you were in? So you want to bring some of that here, or you want to not feel that gap. So when you move from where you are in whichever continent, and when you're coming back home, there's no disparity. It's the same thing. And it's not just about that. It's being able to connect with your country and even grow it and make it a better place than what you left it, which is the reason why in the first place you actually left, to make a better career for yourself, but also invest back home. So then how do you do that and do that right? So allow me to welcome the CEO of Guri. He is quite an incredible man. Let me tell you, I was reading his bio, and the entire time I was like, oh my word, this man, he's done quite a lot for himself, right? So this is Kenneth Kinjui. Kenneth Kinjui Komu is the CEO of Guri Build. This is a platform revolutionizing trust ecosystem in Africa, real estate, by connecting diaspora communities with vetted professionals, emphasis on vetted professionals, for seamless construction and investment projects. Of course, as a trained valuer, estate agent, and property manager, and a robust career over a decade in construction, in travel tech, and of course, extensive business experience across Africa. Kenneth is passionate about leveraging innovative solutions to empower communities and, more importantly, to drive economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Kinyanjui Kenneth. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I am
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Best introduction for the year yet.
Oh, so, yeah. Please, if you need me to be doing it every so often, call me, I will do it.
Super, I will do so. So today we will be talking about Guri Build. And myself, Kenneth Kinyanjui, as Cynthia introduced, I'm the CEO of Guri Build. And Guri Build is an innovative solution that is trying to help people in the diaspora. We've been around for over 3 years now, and we have a track record in the market. And so I'd like to more or less share my screen, talk about the current Kenyan real estate situation, and also the steps to begin your journey in home ownership or in investments in real estate. So allow me to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. So yes, so the project that, so the house that you see here is one of our projects that we've delivered to a client. It's actually one of my best projects to be involved in because it was in the early days of Guri. So we are here to discuss your dream home awaiting you back home. And basically what we do is we help the diaspora build their dream homes back home and also their dream investments. And so Guri Build is a platform that helps people have visibility and accountability in construction. And so founded in 2021 at the tail end of COVID-19 as Jenga Gishagi, which was a rallying call to establish their roots back home and to also increase FDI into the African ecosystem. We later on brought in the technology aspect when we realized that the word of mouth and how we did things manually couldn't work. And so move on to Guri technology. So Guri means home in Somali. And so it's more or less a word that is easy to remember. And so what we created was a transparency model that we use very simple techniques that are already existing, but we try and bring simple techniques, the same banking platform use construction mortgage to then evaluate what is happening in construction. We use valuation reporting to report back to clients and photographic evidence for clients to be able to understand what is happening. And at the same time, just interpret the construction jargon. So if you had a construction professional talk, you wouldn't understand it if you're not in construction. So how do you interpret this construction jargon to layman's language? And so we were able to do this. And so I would want just to talk about the current situation in the real estate sector in Kenya in specific, because we are Kenyan, but we are serving also Africans across the border. But in Kenya, what we've realized, because real estate is very dynamic and it's very big in terms of a sector, there's so much to cover. But I will want to talk about the trends because these are the things that you see nowadays in the market. So given that we are undergoing very significant transformation due to the changing needs of the population, there is quite a focus on sustainable development, both locally and internationally. So developers and people in construction are focusing more on sustainability. So when you talk about sustainable development, what are we talking about? It's how do we fit the construction of buildings to be able to fit into the environment, more or less. So when you talk about saving water, when you talk about using renewable power, when you talk about green buildings, so buildings that you do not need to then use too much power to be able to power them, what else you could use better spaced windows or better airy rooms to be able to create a dynamic effect that will be able to help you save power. So there's quite a lot in sustainability that I will not go into. There's also the affordable housing initiatives. So when you think of the housing market, the moment has a population of over almost 60 million or more. And when you think about the housing demand or the housing gap, there's quite a housing gap because it's the guys at the top of the pyramid who have housing. At the bottom, there's not quite a lot of housing. And in the urban areas, there's quite a need for housing. So affordable housing is something that people are choosing to focus on. And affordable housing more or less has a lot of definitions. It could be about affordability in terms of per capita or how much people earn. So think of it that, and people are exploring models on how to achieve affordability. So rent to own is one of the techniques to be able to achieve affordability. Think of also houses that are not finished. So people are selling shells, so they construct a house, but they leave it without finishes so that people can move in and finish as they go living in on their journey. So there's also mixed use development. So this is quite a demand because people are choosing to centralize their lives in one area. So think of mixed use developments as somewhere where you're able to get your shopping, your laundry, your entertainment, your living, your work, everything that surrounds your life, more or less, is in one place. And because people are then moving away from the city and moving on to satellite areas, then there's also this need for mixed-use developments, even beyond the city itself. So this is another trend. So when you're thinking of investing, when you're thinking of building, this is something that you can think of. Then there's also technology integration. So technology integration is, you can think of it as a range from what we are trying to do, visibility, but even when you get into a house, when you're talking about smart homes. So how do you get into the house and come on, curtains closed, curtains open, all these things, it's technology. So technology integration in construction itself and beyond construction in living itself is something that you're seeing more in the market. Then there's a growth of satellite towns. So Nairobi is no longer the place that everybody wants to be. Then there's also the evolution that brought out other attractive areas. So satellite towns like Ruiru, Thika, Migori, Kisii, Isiolo, Garissa. These are other places that have real estate markets that are also budding in their own way and in their own right, because there's a demand and there's quite a market for them. And then there's focus on security and amenities. When you're investing in real estate at the moment, people want to live in a secure environment and an area that has most of the amenities. So think of it as also when you are working remotely, you want to have fast internet, you want to be able to have water throughout, you want to have electricity throughout, you want to be in a safe environment in the sense that no intruders can come into your compound, because people are also now exploring open plan houses, big windows, frameless and grilless. And so thinking of security as a way to be able to enjoy such a design is one way people are thinking about real estate. And the same time, remote work, because I talked about the internet, about having home offices in developments or in houses. And also these situations of fractional ownership. I think at the moment, I think it was yesterday or today, so we were discussing with a lawyer. So my lawyer is of the Somali origin. So Guri means home in Somali. So I interact a lot with the community. And so we were having a conversation and how the Somalis are able to really grow their investments actually in most of the places is actually fractional ownership. So you see a lot of the complexes coming up, and a lot of these people just own a floor and somebody else owns a floor, and that's how they're able to roll over and move on to a lot of more development. So these are the trends of what is happening in Kenya, or the situation. And so when we think about this, then what are the steps to begin your journey to home ownership or to investments into real estate? So you need to be able to find your goals. So what are you trying to achieve with this investment that you're trying to make? So what is the best place that you will be able to then set up whatever you're trying to think of? So think of a house or a home, then you will be able to think, okay, I need a neighborhood that is maybe close to a school, that is close to a hospital, that is secure in the sense that maybe it's in a gated estate or something like this, or it's in a green area. You know, there are considerations that you have to make. What are your goals in terms of what you're trying to set up? Even an investment, what kind of return are you looking on investment? Then you have to then secure the land. So you have to define the goals to be able to identify an area and then secure the land through a lawyer. Definitely, we would recommend that you use a lawyer to be able to help you with the due diligence and to be able to go through the process of land buying. Then you need to be able to set a budget. So how much are you willing to invest firsthand? And these are some of the things that Guri Build helps you do. We help you get a picture of the budget from a construction point of view. And then you need to engage professionals. So the professionals that you need to engage are vetted and registered. So these are people who are registered under their registration bodies. And definitely when you're in diaspora, you're not able to know these people. So Guri steps in to be able to help you identify these professionals, and then you can engage them. Then develop a building plan using the professionals that you have identified. Then you can develop a building plan. And also, so a building plan is threefold. We call it threefold because it's just not the drawings of what you want to do, but you also have to think about the cash flow projection. So when I say I'm starting in February, how much money am I needed each and every month based on the program of work? So the program of works is a breakdown of every work that will happen on site based on what you want to achieve until the end, from start to end. And so this then defines the cash flow projection. So every month, how much is needed? And Guri steps in to be able to help you think through these things from that angle. And then you begin construction. So you hand over the site to a contractor. So we prefer using contractors because contractors will use their money and you pay them based on the milestones. So begin the construction. Then you're inspecting as stages go by or as achievements, milestones are achieved across the construction. And so at the end of the day, then the inspections and you're approving what is happening, and Guri steps in to be able to help you do these things. At the same time, we then have the finishing touches, the furnishing of the house, and you're able to move in or monetize whatever you build. So it could be defined by the goals that you had. So Guri Build is more or less solving a problem, and the problems that we are solving is more or less questions that we need to ask you as listeners. Is that, are you looking to build back home, but you lack the trustworthy professionals or trustworthy family members who will help you achieve your goal? And so Guri Build steps in to be able to help you answer that question. How many of you have wanted your own design of a house? So you do not need to buy a ready house. You can design your own house and build it in the comfort of wherever you are in the diaspora. And there's quite a lot of stories of people who've lost their money to investment companies. So they may be here and you could have a tale to that. Or have you tried to build back home and you've gotten different results from the initial plan? So we are dealing with clients who have gone through that. So they come and tell us, hey, I engaged this and this professional, this and this fundi, and this is what we got. Can you try and rectify it for us? And we say, okay, you will need to use professionals. So we bring the same thing that you are avoiding, the professionals. So you need to be able to then think about these professionals from the get-go so you do not get yourself in this situation. And how many of you then take a plane, come back home, build for a few months, and then go back to work abroad? It's very common. And this is something that is not cost effective at the end of the day. And then also, you're not a builder. So you need to be able to give the builders or the professionals the work and for you to more or less provide the finances, but also be guided through the process. How many of you lack the know-how and how best to start building? And so this is what Guri is here for. How many of you have the pressure of black tax? So you want to build for your mother or your father or your parents, but they are not so trustworthy. So you are having doubts about how to send the money or how to do it. So we would help you then achieve these goals. Then there's lack of trusted and vetted professionals. There's lack of ownership in design of the house. So you just buy a house because you found it, but you really wanted it to have maybe a sauna, or you wanted it to have an open plan kitchen, or you wanted it to have a certain kind of design of windows. All these things. There are things that you buy a house and you feel, oh, I could have changed this or something. And there's lots of funds to dishonest professionals and real estate and people in the real estate sector. There's lots of funds through inexperienced family members. So you couldn't trust a family member, but because they're not experienced in construction, you do not expect them to then deliver. But you expect them to deliver because they are your family member, but they're inexperienced. So I think last week I was in Nanyuki where we were launching a project, and I happened to play a round of golf, and one of the caddies was telling me that the sister is in Israel, but she's been sending money to the son who is 19. So at 19, what do you know about construction? But she trusts the son. So yes, you trust the family member, but the son doesn't know anything about construction. So she's been losing money, but you wouldn't advise her because she trusts the son. So until the point where she realized, oh, actually, he's not experienced. So it's one of these things. So you have to really think about, okay, I trust them, but are they experienced? And then the different results from the original plan. So there are deviations due to lack of proper communication and all these things. So you are far, you need someone on the ground. And we could go on and on about the problems that people in the diaspora are facing. But here is a solution. You just need to be able to talk to us. So sign up on our website, go through our processes, understand what we're trying to do. You can also see, so the backend, so the solution that we are providing, you'll have such a portal. You'll see what is happening behind the scenes, how much money is being used, who are your trustees. So these are your family members. We don't want to kick them out. We want to just have them as part of the process, but don't have them involved in the day-to-day construction. And then the suppliers or the professionals are there. So, and then you are owning the construction process from the thinking to the finish. So the design thinking all the way to the finish. You're saying, this is what I want. This is not what I want. And then there's guidance and visibility through all the stages. So we start from the designs, we go to the site, we help you, even before we go to site, we'll help you do due diligence on your piece of land because you bought it maybe when you're in diaspora. So I even happened to go to a site in Nanyuki where a client was told that their land is in Nanyuki. I drove 1.5 hours away from Nanyuki on a dirt road. I even did find a piece of land, but they were told they're in Nanyuki. So I was like, you are not in Nanyuki, you have to first deal with that. But the land itself can be constructed, but you're far away from any amenities. So there's no electricity, there's no water. You have to then think about borehole and solar. So all these things, we will help you think through them. But at the same time, you have to engage professionals. And then you will also have a safeguard of your money because it's milestone based. And then we also have financing options. So if we can take your credit score from diaspora, we can then rate it with a Kenyan bank, and you can then go through the process of getting pre-qualified and all these things. At the same time, the trustees are family, but about us. So I'll come back to about us when Cynthia lets me talk again. At the moment, I will want to pass it back to Cynthia to be able to take us to the next step.
Oh, thank you so much, Kenneth. I think you've been quite clear, and I love that you've presented this in the way we're able to process information is who you are, what you do, the problem statement, and the solutions that you're giving. So we're able to see the 360 of what Guri Build is actually providing. And of course, I'm going to be throwing a couple of questions your way, but for now, welcome to everybody who's joining us. Again, we truly appreciate it that you are joining us for the Real Estate Pulse webinar this afternoon and this evening and this morning. And I say that because, you know, it could be morning, evening, afternoon, depending on where you are. And we truly appreciate that you are joining us. Of course, you just found Mr. Kinyanjui talking. He is the CEO of Guri Build. He is one of the many reasons why we're here is to ensure that you have a way and a more empowered way for you to invest and build back home. Now, I do have my questions for you, but I'm going to have you in a panel first, and then once we start doing the questions, then I can throw my questions at you. And if you're joining us, we do have the Q&A section that has already kicked off. There's Latifat Opal, who's already asking, I would like to build in Nyali, and I'm not Kenyan. What's the process? Fantastic. You have the right people who will answer these questions for you. Of course, if you check at the very bottom, you will see two questions. You can see two sections. There is the comment section or the chat section or the Q&A. If you have a question, kindly direct it to the Q&A. That is very important. The Q&A section is the most important so that we just see it's a question and we just answer it as fast as possible. If not, I know Kenyanjui and the team, we will collect all these questions. I think even for now, if you can give us an email that we can send the questions to, Kenyanjui?
Yes, so I'll type it out on the Q&A on the comment section.
Great.
But I can also,
that would be great. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Now, I know some of the questions that you're asking are from not just Kinyanjui, who's a realtor. We also have other realtors in the building, and we also have an advocate who will walk us through some of the questions that you're asking, especially for I am not Kenyan, what is the process? Then that is definitely a question that this panel can answer. And allow me to introduce Mariam. Mariam is a realtor from Kansas City, Missouri. And there's a time I have one of my friends who's from Kansas City, Kansas, and I keep wondering, what's the difference, guys? Like, what's the difference? Mariam, what's the difference?
What's the difference? Thank you so much, Cynthia, Afro Diaspora Pulse, and Kinyanjui for having us in this panel. I really appreciate. I'm looking forward to the partnership that we're going to build. And the difference between Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. So Kansas and Missouri are just bordering each other. And then there's a side we
Oh,
call
is
Kansas
it?
City, Kansas. So when you say Kansas City, Kansas, it's Kansas side. And Kansas City, Missouri is the Kansas City, Missouri. But to make everything easy, you just say, I'm in Kansas City, and you in both states.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's something new. I didn't know. I was 2 years
Yeah.
old when I learned that the two are so close to each other. Thank
We're
you.
never too old to learn.
Okay.
So I am Miriam Fry. I'm licensed real estate agent or realtor in Kansas and Missouri. I serve from land, commercial. I serve everybody. We do not discriminate. You come and we help you to the best of our abilities. If you have anybody looking to buy either in Canada, in Washington, D.C., we have partnership across the country, and we will direct you to the right person to serve you.
Okay, great. That's really,
Yeah.
really cool. Thank you so much, Mariam, and thank you so much for joining in our panel. And of course, part of our panel also includes Nelly Wainaina, who's the managing partner of Mudhoni, Wainaina and Company Advocates. Nelly is a distinguished legal professional with extensive expertise spanning litigation, conveyances, I'm hoping I've read it right. Human rights, resources, estate planning, and trust. She's also a certified company secretary and a notary public, adding to her multifaceted capabilities in the legal and corporate sectors. She is the managing partner at Mudhoni, Wainaina and Company Advocates. Of course, Nelly leverages her diverse knowledge and experience, having worked with various financial institutions to deliver tailored and effective legal solutions to her clients. Nelly, welcome to our panel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you, Afro Diaspora Pulse. Thank you, Ken. Like you said, I'm an advocate. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. And a large part of what I do is I provide solutions for clients in the diaspora. So just because you're at home, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're beyond, we're able to provide solutions for you. So you need some convincing, that tough word you were saying, that basically means
I looked at it and my head went to, it's like, is it conveyancing? I'm sure I have heard it and I'm reading it right, but it does not look like I'm reading it right.
It doesn't look like a word, but it is. Conveyancing basically is
Yes.
what you're talking about here. It's transfer of land from one person to another, and we're able to help you do that. So whether you're the one selling or you're the one buying, we're able to walk you through what you need to do so that you're just not giving money to, people in the dark and shadowy places, and you're losing money and yet you work so hard for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
So that's it.
Okay. So now, what we're going to start with, I think we're going to start with Miriam. If you could let us know, what are like the top factors consider when choosing a property in Kenya?
What I've heard a lot is people are looking to be far away from the cities. They just want the greener areas like Nanyuki. Nanyuki is what has come a lot, and they want to buy there. Nanyuki, Thika. Yeah, those are the main areas I've had. Yeah, I've had Malindi as well, Mombasa, and those are things that people are looking for. Here when you've worked, you have the money. Now you want something luxurious in Kenya, something beautiful, something that it's out of this world here. but there it's possible to build whatever you want, like a Hollywood house. So whenever you have a land, the possibility of building is there.
And from your experience, how much are people willing to come back and invest here?
A particular guy I know, he took 3 months, as Kenyan Jewish said, and he's been going back and forth, building around the Westlands area. And it took him, I'd say, altogether a year. So flying back and forth and meeting with this, meeting with that. And yeah, he finished his building, but it took a lot of time and money just to be back home.
Okay. Like it looks like Kenyan Jew, you really studied the market. You can see where the pain points are because the back and
Yes,
forth sounds like quite a lot, yeah? It's
that's a
quite a
lot.
lot.
Yeah, because now you'll have to ask for PDOs. If you're employed, you have to ask for time off. And the boss on this other
Yeah.
hand is like, no, you just took 6 weeks off. How can we give you another 6 week off? So you have to wait again and then sending money to family members. Some are trusted, some are not trusted. Design might be not what you want. So it becomes a little bit also of a confrontation with family, bad blood coming up. So with Kenyan Jewish expertise, I think that will bridge the gap between the traveling, and all that nonsense of getting rejected to get a time off. So that will
Oh,
be
yeah,
really
true.
a handy thing.
So, okay. Thank you so much. Allow me to rope in Nelly. Nelly, from your experience, you have seen what in Kenyan terms we call the ghetto of investing in Kenya if you're in the diaspora. There's no other word to call it. And if you're trying to invest back home, what are the things that you need to consider, especially when you're trying to protect yourself legally?
Thanks, Cynthia. And it's true, it's the absolute ghetto. So first and
Yeah.
foremost, you have to understand that for a lot of people who may not have the best intentions, you are a cash cow. You are this person who's working abroad, you're earning in dollars, you're earning in euros, whatever currency it is. And they think you have this magical money tree in your house and you can be able to, what's a million to Miriam? What's a million? What's 2 million? What's 10 million? And we're actually now seeing family taking each other to court because you sent your uncle money, you sent your brother money, you sent your sister, and you come back, you've been told this palatial mansion was waiting for you. You've sunk your retirement funds, you've sunk everything, and you come back to a bed sitter or a studio apartment or nothing at all. Or like, Kenneth was saying, you've been told that you bought, basically your neighboring state house. And you get to Nairobi, and my friend, you are 2 hours away from the nearest living thing. So the first thing I'd say, let me echo what Kenneth was saying, get professionals. You're not in the country, accept that you're not in the country, accept that in the period that you have been gone, people have become smarter. The way, if we in Kenya are getting conned, it's so much more easier for you to get conned, for you someone to take advantage of it. So get your advisors, whether it's an advocate, whether it's your architect when it comes to building, your quantity surveyors, my friend, you will see fire and brimstone if you're not careful. Secondly, do background checks. Who are you buying from? Some of us, we're having a lot of land buying and land selling companies going to the diaspora. They call you guys for nice lunch and breakfast, and they show you this wonderful property. But if you actually just did a background check, you'd find out that they have scandals back home. Some of the really, really big land buying companies, they have stories. There's a reason they're coming to the diaspora. It's because nobody in Kenya is going to touch them. And then thirdly, and this is a bit controversial, avoid family deals if you can. My friend, guys, just listen to me. Trust your advocate. Like, not your cousin. You see that cousin of yours? Cynthia, you see that favorite cousin of yours? Yeah, this is not the deal. Okay. You may trust, but if you don't have your checks and your ducks in a row, family can actually be the biggest cause of problems for you. And the worst thing is that I have seen this time and time again, unfortunately, you bought from family. So you bought from your uncles, your grandfather, on which your cousin tries remote. And when the deal goes south, do you know what you'll be told? It's family. Family forgives each other. And, it's an African to take your uncle to court. Do you not have respect? But my friend, whose millions have, gone down the drain, it's yours. So use that. And lastly, guys, Kenya has evolved. We have platforms that allow you to do so much. Google is your friend, yes, but we have these Artisasa. You can be able to check. You can be able to check whether these companies have cases. You can be able to check whether the person selling you has a case. There are people, if you just put their name, Kenyan, person XYZ, their name is just going to flag every single story under the sun. So just be proactive, but first and foremost, just make sure that you're not taking everyone at their word. Just be very careful. And I think that's the best way to protect yourself. Be proactive about what you're doing, what you want, and where you want it, and the timelines and everything. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Nelly. You have hit the nail on the head. And you have said the things that nobody is willing to say because they're all afraid. Just like, yo, we're African. Can we not just throw shade at our family? We don't throw shade at family because family is blood. Yeah. Family is blood. You don't say anything
You'll
bad.
see something. Yeah. You'll see, we see so many cases, and it's gotten so bad. I actually did a case about, I think, a year back. We ended up in mediation, but do you know it was the brother who stole from the sister? Yeah, the sister kept sending money. She was, I think she was in Dubai, and she was sending money and sending money and sending money. But he had a wonderful house. He had a car. He was not working, but she had nothing. So when she came, she was told, you see, yes, you worked for 10 years, but you see, you can go back and work again. But your brother has a family. So where do you start? How do you start? Everything is in the brother's name. So that's the other thing I actually forgot. Make sure everything is either in your name, or you're doing a trust, or you have a company in the country. Make sure all the actual documentation and contracts being signed are in your name, or otherwise you're just going to be gifting people land in the country.
It is the audacity for me. Yeah. Always there for the audacity. Now, allow me to ask you this, Miriam, and you've said a lot of guys who are in the diaspora are looking to build, say, luxury spaces because those cannot be, there's no space or the freedom to do what you want, especially in the countries that they're living. But what do you think are the different types of properties that people are able to build, and what would be the right property for you to build, especially if you're in the diaspora?
So building back home, you have your dreams. It's your home. You can build whatever you want. If you have the money, I normally say pesa uvunja mlima. So you can build whatever you want. If you have that land, you have the money. Let's say you're an engineer here, you're a doctor, you're a nurse practitioner, you're making a ton load of money, and you can build whatever you want. So it's just you need to have the dream, and you can build whatever you want.
I love that. At this point, if you'd like to take me to the diaspora so that I can build back home what I want, I am available. Thank you very much. This is to Kinyanjui. Allow me to ask you, if someone has already started a version of construction, yeah? And then it has gone, in the words of the Kenyans, imegonga ukuta. It has hit the wall, yeah? And now they're trying to figure out, do I get an expert? Do I not? I have a few people I trust. If you're coming in as Guri, are you going to work with part of the people I have, or you want to work with 100% the people that you have because you trust them?
Thank you so much for that question. It's quite a tricky question because we've had experiences with this. So we more or less really say that we want to work with 100% of people we recommend. So we do not want the person who caused the problem to be the one to solve the problem. They could try not to solve the problem because they caused the problem in the first place. So we start from a point of advice. We never really get even into the numbers. We really just start from a point of educating the client, helping them understand what can be done. So what is salvageable, what is not. So what can be saved from this mongrel of a house that we like to call them mongrels because they're not good looking. Either way, that this is why we are in this situation. So we are in this situation because you did not involve the right people. So we need to be able to help you involve the right people. And from an angle of, and if we had more time, I could have even shown some photos of some of the projects we've gone to. So you find maybe they didn't do the proper thickness of like the floor when they're doing the concrete, or they did not use the right construction materials, or they did not use the proper angling, and they just installed grills of windows and whatnot, just in any way. A house does not have like 90-degree corners and all these things, and a client wants you to help them repair it. There are things which can be salvaged, but there are things that cannot. So the moment, let's say, such a house, you're installing the tiles will scream that this was not at 90 degrees, because tiles are cut out at 90 degrees. And when you go into a room and you see a small tile growing into a row, it's so annoying. And these are some of the things that you realize that the people you involved did not then follow the building standards. But what we advise is we start from a point of advice, then we say, can we help you then think about what can be done? From a perspective of the architect being able to then say, this is the design we were following, or this is what we are following. Then an engineer, structural engineer, checking the structural integrity of the structure. And then the quantity surveyor being able to check what is the sum of materials that will be used to be able to rectify whatever has already been done and to finish it. And then from this perspective, you're able to say, okay, I have this journey left out of where the hole I am in. Am I able to take it? Then we ask you, how long do you want to take it? At the end of the day, you are on the driver's seat in terms of, are you changing the design, or are you willing to spend? How much money are you willing to spend? So we help you make those decisions in terms of, okay, can you take 1 year? Can I take 6 months? Do I have the money now? Then how do you do it? Then we involve the contractor to be able to do it based on what you told us in terms of timeline. Okay. And so this is how we're able to help people like this.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's quite elaborate. And I think, again, you're like the best gift anyone would have given Kenyans in 2025. We are absolutely grateful for that. Now, allow me to open up this session for questions. And I know, Pauline Dismas, you may have a question or two for our panel. So I'll allow you to go ahead.
Hi, my name is Pauline. Those who are not here when we started, thank you. Cynthia, this is a great conversation. I'm actually enjoying for someone who have invested back home. And I know I have seen some women from the Kenyan women in Canada. We have a chama, merry-go-round. Some of us have been able to invest through that initiative. And some of us have been lucky to build. And I think Guri comes in a very interesting and great time for some of us who are still wanting to build. I was looking at that building behind you, Cynthia. It's beautiful. It's a dream home for some of us who live here, and you want to not only come and retire, but when you come back home before you eventually funga mizigo zote kurudi nyumbani. So thank you so much. I was listening keenly to Kinyajui, highlighting the passion he has for the sustainable development and community building, because those are very important, especially when you live in diaspora and you see how those things, how people build here with the idea knowing that this place need to be well sustainable. When it comes to sewage, some people have built places that there's no sewage. And I also want to highlight about how we've been taken advantage by company coming here and selling us heaven on earth, and saa zingine hata unauziwa hewa. When you come back home you have nothing. So I do hope we can start to build a great partnership where we can trust, because I tell you, pesa za majuu ni pesa za uchungu. Some of us, if we tell you what we do to make that dollar come to our bank account, ni it's a big hassle. So I would love to maybe have a follow-up conversation with Mr. Kenyajui for some of the women who are going to build, and also speaking about the making sure you're getting a land that haitakuja kuwa na mashida mbele. I know there was a lady who said I believe it's a real estate lawyer. My apology if I didn't get the name, but I think that's where some of us have lost, where you build a land and then unasikia iko na title mbili. So I really commend you, Cynthia. You unatupeleka vizuri, and thank you, Guri, for bringing this conversation here, because I tell you, there are women who are not waiting to retirement to build. We are building before we retire, so that when we come to visit Atuombi Kulala, and with the influx of the Airbnb, it's been very interesting investment to invest back home and have something coming back in your pocket. So it's in this conversation, it's happening in the right time, and thank you, Dawn, for inviting me. And we do have some of our women who are joining here, and we'll definitely have another conversation and see if this is a fit for us. But looking at the house behind you, yes, I personally nimenunuliwa. And thank you so much, everyone who's have made time to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pauline. We appreciate it. And I love that. I think I'm going to ask after Disbus and Dawn are done, but I will also ask a question. I think I want to have Disbus check in.
And before I end, I wanted to also highlight, I don't know if you've heard about the story of Sarah and Kabu. How do we women, that's a question to the panelists, how do we women move strategically, not trusting, and I'm not hoping anything goes wrong, but anybody who have that some insight for us women? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that will go to Nelly. You will address that, because I think from our conversation, from what I'm getting is he transferred a lot of those things to the daughter, not even to himself. So I think you'll pick up on that. Yeah. So
yeah, thank you very much for having me here today. And first of all, I'll say for everyone who joined, this is very intentional. This is a conversation that it's time that we have it right now, especially as the diaspora community. From my own perspective, I believe real estate is one of the most lucrative and secure investment opportunities for us here in the diaspora. And but then looking at it, it comes with unique challenges. We've had Kinyanjui and the rest of the panelists talk about, the challenges and the opportunities that exist, but nonetheless, there's always that gray area. That's why we need to work directly with professionals. So what I'd like to ask, I have a couple of questions, and my number one question would be, I wanted to know what are the current trends in real estate in terms of cities or towns or counties that they're going to be, good spots for real estate in the future. Instead of all of us going to invest in Nairobi, for example, which other areas can these experts identify for us and tell us that this is where we are looking into, so that as we put our money, we put it onto the right place. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dismas. I think that you just missed the part where you're supposed to introduce yourself. We kind of just went into it, and it's okay.
Oh yeah, it's because of the information. It has been a very powerful session.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
know.
I've never sat in a real in a real estate panel like this that has such information. Just like how you said, Kinyanjui introduced himself, stated what he's doing and the solutions that he's bringing. So it was very informative.
Yes.
So my name is Dismas Kibungei Kogo, and I'm the current president of the Diaspora Youth Network. We work closely with the youths across the diaspora space. We work directly with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through different embassies and high commissions globally. So through our network and our connections with the young people globally, our main aim is to identify the challenges that exist and see who is going to give solutions. Let's say, for example, real estate is one of the challenges that, or rather investing in real estate is one of the challenges that we are facing right now. So who are the guys who are bringing solutions? Afro Diaspora Pulse is there to support all the young people within the diaspora space on matters, just to begin with the real estate, because you've now brought in experts in that field. So, and then secondly, what we also do is we try to connect and unite our people. We bring them together so that we can find meaningful ways of coexisting in the diaspora space. And at the same time, how can we support back home? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very thank you very much, Dismas. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with Miriam. Do you have a or should we? Yeah, we're going to start with Miriam for you to have a question. Then we'll go to Nelly, and then we're going to finalize with Kinyanjui. But I believe Dawn, you're here with us. You can ask your question as well.
Thank you very much. I think mine is a question. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm called Don Matthias. I'm the country general, secretary general for ECASA, which is the Economic Community of the African Sixth Region. And I'm also an ambassador of the African Union Sixth Region. And I would like to ask a question that would be able to represent the people of Africa and specifically the people of Kenya. The first question will go directly to Mr. Kinyanjui. If someone is building back at home and if they're building back at home and they want to be able to build at the coast, this is not someone who is a Kenyan, right? And this question will be both Kinyanjui and Nelly. They're not Kenyan. They're interested to build at the coast because one of our biggest things that we are doing at ECASA is to try to build back at home, is try to make sure we bring investments back at home. That is definitely getting foreign investors to come back at home and build. What is the first step for them? Is there that they have to be able to partner up with a Kenyan to be able to have that investment of a land? I think there was a law of that effect, Nelly. I don't know how true that is. And coming back to Mr. Kinyanjui, if that is the case, how's the foreigner protected? Because you definitely know that sometimes you can have an investor because this person is not from here. And I think it happened in the Kenyan television a long time ago. They were chasing away an investor who had already invested in some properties and land to go back to their own country. I think, Cynthia, you can remember that. And he was like, what about my properties? Because that's something also very curious to the investors who are coming in to invest back at home. It's very important to them for them to know that their investment is secure. The last question goes to Nelly. We want to protect our unions. But as much as we want to protect our unions, our marriages back in the diaspora, it's very much important to advise the couples. If I'm building back in my village and I'm building my mansion, would I involve my wife? Is that a property that would involve my wife? How can my wife be able to? Because I've seen scenarios as late as last year. One Kenyan died just because the people never liked the wife. They put out that the wife should not come back to where the husband built. But according to the Canadian Constitution, the wife had the legal rights of all his properties, including the ones in Canada. Worst scenario happened, the wife made an executive decision that the husband is also not going to be buried back at home, which even angered the people back at home more. To make sure that she will never step there into their properties. But you see, it is saving the cost and saving the money. Guri, I do understand you have helped a lot of people build back at home, but you see, that's the worry. I think Nelly also mentioned it in terms of the worry is our own people. It is not
Ron, I
even.
know that story very well. So thank you for highlighting.
Thank you. So it's very important for us to be able to understand how can we protect our fellow people, not just the men, but also the women. How can we educate the women to understand when these properties are being put together? How can we put them as an estate, or how can we put them as a union to protect both sides? So I think for me, especially Guri on your side, because most of the people in diaspora want to build back in their villages fast before they think of Nyali, before they think of Nairobi. They want to make sure that their property in the village is secured and everything is okay. So my two questions go to you. And lastly, to Mariam, I've already had a property here in the United States, here in Canada, Toronto, and I'm looking for a property in the United States. How would I be able to begin that process knowing very well I'm not a citizen of the United States? Thank you very much, and back to you, Cynthia. And thank you, everyone, for an amazing job you're doing. And every panelist, thank you very much for joining too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So I think we're gonna start with Miriam, then go to Nelly, and then finish up with Kinyanjui. Of course, we want to try and keep this as simple and as straightforward as possible so that we don't confuse people with a lot of words. So if we're able to be very precise, it makes it easier for someone to just pick up the points that they need to be able to make good decisions moving forward. So I appreciate that. Moving forward, that's what we'll be able to do.
All right. My answer to Dawn, since you're a Canadian citizen, it will be easy for you to buy land here or buy a house or investment. All you just need to show is your papers, and I think you're good to go. So the buying process, if you have cash, you will buy the house at cash. And if you're asking for a loan, you might use your Canadian banks, mortgage companies there to secure your loan. Then you bring the paperwork here to America. You look for the area that you're looking for, and we can start looking. I normally tell my buyers it will take about 3 months if we're looking for a resale. But if we're buying and we're building from ground up, it will take about maximum a year, depending on the builder, the land, the lot that you're looking for, and the design. That's pretty much it. And then after it is built, after all you've acquired the house that you need, you got to put some earnest money deposit. So it's usually 1% of the purchase price. You pay at a title company through check online, and you can show that. If you buy a resale, it will take about 30 to 45 days to close. During that time, you have 10 days of option period. You get to do your investment, your inspections. And if the inspection pass, you move to the next step where the bank sends an appraiser, and the appraiser will be able to appraise the house to its market value. So if the appraisal comes low and the house was at 450, we go back to Mr. Seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, your house appraised so low, and this is what you're asking, and this is what the bank say. The bank cannot finance at 450, it will finance at the market price. So we will do a little bit of negotiation back and forth till we come to a sweet point for both of us, and the bank will say, okay, we will finance this. And then after that, it's now underwriting. They go back and look at your tax documents, all your paperwork. And after that, after a few days, 10 days, we can get a clear to close. Every day, the bank will update us depending on your mortgage company. They will update us regularly. And finally, 30 days, we can close. And you have your beautiful Airbnb, a beautiful house. And that's the process of buying here in America. So the credit score, if you're looking to use the American banks and mortgage credit score, sweet one should be around 680. And at least show that you're paying your bills on time, keeping your record nice and clean. Yeah. And then I know, Cynthia, you've said we need to stay on plan. I have a question for Kinyanjui. Do you have reviews of people that you've worked with, pictures, statements. I would love to see that because I'm also tight with a group of women here who got really scammed badly. If you can just do the figures of that, it is amounting to millions and millions of Kenyan shillings. It's right there in Facebook, but I don't want to mention the group. But if you can provide reviews, people
I
who have
know
closed
that
with
group
you.
you're talking about. Thank you for highlighting that too in the
Yeah, I
US.
do not want to mention it. Yes, I do not want to mention it here, but yeah, if you can please provide pictures, reviews, recent closes, and that would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miriam. I love that we're all doing our due diligence. And from this I have learned women across have a lot of money.
So women here really work, they work hard. Some, let's say I
Yeah.
want building, my mom's age, maybe they're putting up 16-hour shift to go back home to a nice house when they retire. So it is
Retire.
it's really bad when they get scammed and you can
Mm.
see an old lady waking up in 5 o'clock in the morning to go work, and then they meet in groups. Somebody comes very qualified saying they're realtor partners up with another con person in Kenya, and they end up scamming a bunch of women. It is really painful. And then when they're asked, they become very arrogant. So we want at least
Yeah.
some women should do the background check, should do the
Accountability.
due
Yeah.
diligence, yes, before moving forward, and don't be scammed because XYZ bought and her situation went smoothly. Don't think yours will go also smoothly. Do your background check and your due diligence, please.
Absolutely. And then we'll go to Nelly.
Thank you, Cynthia. I think I've been asked the most in-depth personal questions of the century.
Yes. And I think have you seen in the question and answer section? There's also, I think there's 2 more for you.
Yes. So allow me to answer in as brief as I can be, because some of these things are very in-depth. Okay. So allow me to very quickly answer on the Sarakabu issue. So I can't discuss a lot because it's an ongoing case. So there are multiple cases. There's a divorce case, a children's case, defamation, criminal. They've managed to do a full spectrum case. But let me put it this way, because I speak at a lot of women's functions. Learn to, number 1, put in systems. Number 2, learn to put things in your name. Learn to put up systems, learn to put things in your name. Okay? And when you see the end is near, learn to consult people. Family law is very intricate. In Kenya, we have something called matrimonial property. So anything you own before you get married is yours forever. However, once you get married, that property is considered matrimonial property. In the event of a divorce, it needs to be split depending on various factors. Sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's dependent on who is contributing. The law keeps shifting, so it depends in what era of law you're divorcing. However, you need a very good lawyer, especially when you're building an empire like they have. It becomes very, very murky. And that's why you're seeing there are all these attempts to transfer to children, transfer to whatever. It's attempts to try and get a bigger share of the cake. And let me just leave it at that. But please ensure that it is.
Kindly share the systems, please.
Systems include things like trusts. So set up a trust. If you have property to that level, actually, if you have any sort of property, you have children, you may have opened a business, you may have opened a company, you may have, properties here in Kenya, you have, plots and you have built, you have apartments. Your children may not want to come back to Kenya. You're raising them in Canada, you're raising them in the US. To be very honest, they're not going to come back over here and they are crisscrossing with us in Westlands and in Parklands. So learn how to set up a trust here in Kenya. There's a way you can set it up such that a real estate company manages it here in the country. Your children just get checks, even when you're no longer here, because that is the other thing. And allow me to also now move into that. In the event of your death, in the event of a divorce, again, systems, my people. Trusts, estate plannings are great. Having some sort of agreement, or even at the bare minimum, a company. Have a sit down with your spouse and have a plan. Remember, there's a very high possibility, like you're saying, the lady who was told, don't come back into the country. We have seen cases of children being told, your life is in the States, your life is in the UK or in Canada. Whatever is here is, you have cousins who are struggling, and they're not struggling. it's just someone trying to attempt to, just being mean, for lack of a better term. Learn how to write a will. If you're abroad and you have property in this country and you don't have a will, you're joking. And if there's anything, if you take nothing else from me, please go and write a will. Write it there, have someone in the country have it, because when you're gone, nobody knows what you wanted. That being said, there's a question on that's in the Q&A, the effect of the law that was recently passed on land rates. So if you are in the habit of buying a lot of property and these land buying companies come and they tell you wonderful things and you buy land, please go check your title deeds in Kenya. You either have a leasehold or a freehold. A leasehold has what we call land rates that are payable. Okay, and even freehold have something called land rent. Imagine even after buying the property, there's still a small amount of money that you still need to be paying to the government. So you need to make sure that you're paying this amount, because there's now a push to have people who are not paying those land rates. The government is going to attempt to get your land, okay? Because you're not paying, because you've held property 20 years, 30 years, it piles up. And also, if you ever hear these announcements, and I hope they start becoming common in your WhatsApp groups and your Telegram groups, when they're having waivers on penalties, please check. If you have property in Nairobi County and they're having a waiver on penalties, that is the time to go and clear your land rates. And it's something that we can be, a lawyer can be able to help you search. You can be able to look it up yourself, depending on your county. Not all the counties, the more remote counties, you may not be able to check online. But I think Nairobi County, you can check online completely. Learn what is due and pay. And actually, if you keep up with it, it's not a lot. In some places, it's like 500 shillings, 1,000, 1,500 Kenya shillings. So learn how to keep up with the extra costs of being a landowner. It is not a one and done deal. And I know a lot of land buying companies and selling companies tell you, you buy and you're done. No, there are actual costs to being a landowner in Kenya, and you need to do that. And then if you're buying in developments such as Tatu City and all those new age developments, check your contracts. There is a specific period of time when you're supposed to have developed that property. Some say 3 years, some say 5 years. Please go back and check your contract. Some of you happily signed on dotted lines and you're supposed to have a fully constructed house. I know Mika had that contract, Tatu City had those contracts. I'm forgetting this tech place that's supposed to be on your way to Mombasa. That one. Okay, just check. Just check if you bought into any of those large scale developments. Just make sure that your contract does not say that you have bound yourself to construct within a specified period of time, and check what are the penalties if you do not construct and how to get an extension within that time. Otherwise, you're going to start saying you're conned, and maybe you just weren't. You just didn't read the fine print of the contract. And I think I have dealt with almost everything. Yeah, I think that's it. Cynthia, I don't know if I've missed anything.
I don't think so. Have you answered the one she's asked? If I already have a piece of land back home and I want to construct, please advise on how best to move forward. Or is that Kenyan
I think I'll hand that over to Guri, but I'd say take what I've said into consideration. Check your rates, check your rates, check your land rent. Make sure that that is aligned, so that when you go to get permits, Guri doesn't have a hard time, because then you'll start thinking Guri lies.
Nelly, I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt you. Quick question. Very good information. I actually didn't know about the rates. And does that also apply to communal, those mashambani ama gishagi for the rates? Thank you.
It depends on your title. So I would only be able to tell you if I see your title. But if you go to your title deed, there's something, it's either written freehold or leasehold. Okay. So if
Thank
it's free,
you so much. I never knew that information.
Yes. And then lastly, just allow me to say this, please check the number of years on your leasehold property. If you own property in what you call the municipality or closer to town, you may have a leasehold title. Make sure you have time on that leasehold. Otherwise, you might get that you're supposed to be renewing your leasehold and you haven't. So they give it for about 99 years. And you don't want that time to run out without having renewed that leasehold. It's not always automatic. Yep. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Nelly. So I guess the bulk of the questions now go to Kenneth Kidenji of Guri Build. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I think I will try combine some of the questions because I saw Latifat asked how we would go about the process. And the same question was asked also by Marion, how best to move forward with a piece of land. So I'll give just a rundown of our process because this is how more or less we'll be able to move forward. At Guri Build, what we start with is due diligence, more or less. So what Nelly was suggesting, we first find out. So we will ask for a site visit. We'll definitely charge a small fee just to be able to facilitate this. And what we do with this due diligence is that we will want to know the location of your piece of land. We will want to do a search against your title. We will also want to get a map to verify that it lies on the boundaries that the map says it lies. We will also want to talk to the people on the ground, understand, is there Mungiki or kind of gangs in the area? We'll also want to understand any historical things that we wouldn't get on the piece of title. So on the title deed, if we do a search, that is. So we will want to talk to a local, understand who this land belongs to, what's the history behind it, is anybody claiming it, all these things. Before we then tell you, okay, we are comfortable to then ask you to engage professionals to be able to come up with designs to put up something there. So we will start with the due diligence for a site visit, then we will introduce you to professionals, then we will do the design thinking with you, with your budget in mind. After that, we will come up with designs that fit your budget. We'll also help you with financial planning. So this is a very powerful tool where we ask you, okay, so we designed a house for 15 million. How long will you take to get the 15 million? You tell us, okay, I have the money, I need 8 months. Then the contractor will do something called a program of works, which is a breakdown of every work that will happen on site till we give you a key, till we hand over the house. So with this, the contractor will then come up with cash flow projections. So for you, you will know, okay, I need 1 million or 2 million in the first month, I need 3 million in the second month, I need 5 million in da-da-da. And for us, what we do, because we're also safeguarding the contractor, so for us, we have escrow services that we get into proper agreements. So they're joint building council agreements that we get into between the client and the professionals, but also tripartite agreements we get into between ourselves, the client, and the contractor. Because at this point, we have a mechanism where we ask clients to deposit money in an escrow account. So for residential houses, it's 40%, 30-30, because the contractor will be using their money. We will mobilize them with 10%, but before the 10% is paid, they give us an insurance, a performance bond, a performance security, and they will not run away with the 10%. So we can cash this in through whatever insurance company that the contractor took it up with. And so we really do confirm that this insurance is authenticated. I just saw an email coming from one of the sites that we took up in Nanyuki that the contractor sent it. So we will find out whether this contractor is actually doing the right things. But the contractor will be using their money, and this is why we advocate that money is available locally. The contractor is taking a risk for you. Your money is not being used, but the contractor is taking a risk with their money. So they have to be assured of payment at the end of the day, because this is another side of the construction professional issues that are there. So once there is money, they can build, and you're being involved in the construction process. But even in between, before building, there's a contractor selections service that we do. So once we get the BQ, so we said it's 15 million, we'll have a blank BQ tender to contractors within our marketplace, and they will return quotes. And they can do this house with 10 million, I can do this house with 12 million, I can do this house with 13 million, I can do it with 15 million. We'll evaluate what they are saying in this bill of quantity. It's a very large document. So we do a tender evaluation. So you'll find either there is miscalculation in the numbers, or there is not proper pricing based on market standards, or there is somebody left out some things so that they can introduce them as variations once the construction is ongoing. So there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we will want to handle for you, but we select a contractor based on so many parameters. And once we select them, they're using their money in proper agreement between the contractor, the client, and ourselves, and we walk the journey. So that is more or less a rundown of the process, but you can also visit our website. This is very well denoted how it goes down. when you, so I have answered the question to Latifat Opal and to Marion Kamali. Decimus, you did ask what are the current trends in real estate in Kenya in regards to counties, not just buying in Nairobi. So think of development. So when you think about development, counties have what is called the county strategic plans. So these are either 5 years or 10 years. And these strategic plans usually have a lot to do with not just the sitting or the acting regime, but to do with what the county plans to do. So they plan to put up, let's say, certain factories somewhere or a certain SEZ. So there's a lot of counties coming up with SEZ. And you want to be able to then invest towards some certain development. What I used to see a lot of people who I know in real estate who are very, very vast in where to buy land. They used to check where Kenha and Kura and all these guys are looking to build the roads. So they would get a map of like Kenya's road network that's to come. And they would buy along the bypasses. So these are people who had prior information. And now all this information is very much available online. So the county strategic plans are there. There's also Vision 2030. And if you look at the regimes that have come after Kibaki, they're all just implementing Vision 2030 projects. So there's already a blueprint that the country is taking a certain trajectory. So you can go through that Vision 2030, identify projects that are within certain areas, and then invest in those areas. And when you talk to people who are in authority or who are in the know in certain organizations like Kura, Kenha, the guys at Vision 2030 themselves, they'll tell you where these projects are. And so you can then make informed investment decisions, not just buying because it's hot cake or it's brote maguta maguta. So you can always think about what this can mean. So I think I answered that question. So Dawn, you did ask a question about someone building back home at the coast. How do they go about it? And you said that they might be a foreigner. And I think Nelly did lay some of the fears that you had also about protecting the investment. But what we do with this is that we would advocate for the foreigner, if they have to be enjoined with a local, to then have a company. So because the company will take care of the shareholding and all those things, because there is a proper law or mechanism that governs how a company is run and how it's shared and ownership and all these things. But coming back to building, it's no different from building a local's house from a foreigner's house. It's more or less the designs that you want. What is your budget? What do you want to do? Do you have land? All these things. So I think it's still answered in the process that I did explain about how you go about building, because you first sort out the ownership of the land issue, which you can do through a company. And I think also Nelly did explain about bits and pieces of that. So Miriam, you did ask a very proper question about what have we done? So testimonials, statements, what people have done. So we've been in operation over 3 years. It's quite a portfolio that we have. I would just like to, well, let's just run down through, and it's on our company profile, and this can be shared, but I will just want to show some of the projects that we've done. So we started out with 5 bungalows in Kitengela for a client actually it was a group of diasporans who were looking to settle down in Muigai. And so these were constructed back in 2021. And then Karen Miotomini is 4 bedroom, is 4 maisonettes of 4 bedroom. So they are on one piece of land. And why I love this project is because it was one of the biggest projects that we ever took on. I think till last year, this was one of the biggest projects we ever took on. So it was quite a fancy house and we loved it. Then Karen Bomas was one maisonette, a 5-bedroom house. And Kitengela Maisonette, this was for actually a banker. And for him, he constructed a 4-bedroom house for his family. And then Chai Estate was also another 4-bedroom maisonette with a different design. Sanjeru was from the US, and his dream was to settle back in Kenya. And so if you go to this house, you'll find Mr. Sanjeru with his family, and he settled back in Kenya and he's doing import business for vehicles now. So this was another project for clients who are in Arizona. And this was, so you can see Alex Chamwada, we did a whole shoot with him on what we do, how we help this client achieve their dream home. And so this is in Ngelani, in Mavoko. And so this was a 4-bedroom all-en-suite maisonette with a sauna. So this client ordered a sauna, and it's a very beautiful house. And it's one of the projects that we finished early last year. And this is actually the owners, and for them, they're very happy to be seen to be having achieved their dream, which everybody should be happy. This was a project where the client bought a bungalow that they were renovating. And so this was more or less renovations, and the final project, the final picture is also available. This was another house that is ongoing in Utawala. I was actually with the client today as we more or less help them figure out what kind of finishes they want to do, because it's no longer at this level, it's almost done. This was a project in Zanzibar, so we are cross-border, as I said. We are cross-border, we're building in Zanzibar. There's a project we're doing now in Uganda. There's one we're doing in Dar es Salaam. And so some of them are in the design stage, but in Zanzibar, this took off. At the time, I think this was somewhere in November when we were updating this profile, but this is a German guy who is a foreigner, definitely. And so he was setting up, I think these were 8 apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom in the same complex with a swimming pool, and it's come out quite nice. So these are some of the projects. And so testimonials, we can help you get in touch with some of the people that we've built for, and they can tell you their journey and what they've done. But also on our website, these testimonials are there. On our YouTube channel, these are there, so you can see them. There's another question that came in from Diana Haji. How do you go about finishes in a way that helps someone express what they want at the end of the day? So what we do from a design aspect is that we believe that it all starts right, or it all starts wrong for it to go wrong, or it starts right for it to go right. So we really emphasize to a client to be able to give us what they are dreaming about, what they are thinking about, give us those Pinterest boards, give us those mood boards, tell us what is this of a picture that you want to achieve, because all these finishes have to be taken care of in the design stage before we are able to even cost them. And when we do this, then we are able then to come help the client visualize. So when you talk about, let's say, the paint, it's a certain color of paint that has to match the aesthetics of the house. So this is where we are involving an interior designer to be able to more or less help in helping you achieve the aesthetically pleasing, but as well as functionality within your house. So there are things that finishes is very intimate to you, that it is your house. It is you who will spend time in that establishment. So it needs to be tailored to you. So we really walk with you through the journey. And I remember before we then incorporated some technology on VR that we can then highlight what is happening and you can walk through your house. So this is the kind of technology that we bring on board. Before this, we used to help clients more or less rummage through online shops to be able to select what is available in the market, because there's what is there on Pinterest and there's what is available in the market. So let's say things like kitchen hoods or finishes in terms of lights or locks or sinks. You know, there are all these beautiful things you see on TikTok from China. Are they available in the market? So these are some of the things you need to consider. Are we importing this kind of finishes? So there's a lot that you also think about in terms of finishes, in terms of, is it aesthetically pleasing, but is it also functional to what you're trying to design or trying to build? At the same time, is it available in the market? Or do we need to import it? And then the last question, I see Hassan is asking a question. I'm curious that Kinyanjui mentioned technology integration. Does the buyer of the land in diaspora have access to tracking how far the project has reached, or do we have to depend on word of mouth from a consultant at Guri? So we use platforms. So Hassan, we use platforms. One of them is in-house, the other one is a tool. And for you, it's more or less you're getting updates real time. So we will use both the traditional, what we call traditional is WhatsApp, email. This is traditional to us. But then we'll also use the platform. So we have an in-house platform in the back end of our website that you're able to get. So when you sign up, You're able to then get updates based on who is working on your project, what is happening, the project progress based on how we agree that we will be updating you, at the same time coming back to your involvement. So there are bits and pieces on one of the tools called Atiwa that you need to be able to, so there are tasks that are created and it will ping you on your email that you need to approve or not approve or give your feedback. So you're really involved in whatever is happening. And also you're involved in terms of, you have a personal account manager. At the end of the day, you're talking to this guy almost on a daily. We also have services where we install cameras on your piece of land that you're able to see real time what is happening. So this, we range our services between 5 and 10% of the construction cost, where we offer stage inspection reports. At 7%, we offer monthly inspection reports. At 8%, we offer bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. And 10%, we set up the IoT cameras. So these IoT cameras, Internet of Things, it's more or less digital cameras that are able to update you different angles. You're able to see your house grow. You're able to get updates faster, real time. You're able to have your eyes on the ground. And so it's a different ballgame. It's not someone just coming to tell you, hey, the contractor did this and this. No, you're able to see it and you're able to more or less envision it. And also the trustees that are involved. So when you're given a program of works, it's quite a testament that week 1 to week, let's say 72, or whatever week 52 in the year. So 52 weeks, let's say we are working with 1 year. You know what is happening each and every week. So you know this week they are laying the foundation. Next week they're doing the walling. The other week they're doing the roofing. The other week they're, so when you send someone on the ground or when you get updates, does it tally to this program of work? Or are there delays or whatnot? So there's quite a lot of interaction of material in construction that we help you synthesize from a layman's point of view, and you're able to more or less have fun in building and achieving your dream. So yeah, long and short, I think I did cover a lot of the questions.
You have one more question on the chat from Gideon.
Yes, so I think Dawn,
I
am
can
I
answer
allowed
it
to
quickly.
am I allowed to do that one more? I'm not sure whether we can find it. Who has it?
Yeah,
He says, what's the mistake most people do? I can answer it from my end here.
Okay.
To avoid all those mistakes, it's just interview a bunch of realtors before you go with one. Look at their resume, and then you can proceed with the one. Do your due diligence. When you're looking for a house, make sure you do an inspection, get that inspection report, go through it, just tiny details. And then also, if you get pre-approved from a bank, if you're not buying cash, let's say you have a credit score of 700 and you're like, wow, this is great. Before you close your house, don't go do another purchase like buying a car, buying some furnitures for the house, or taking them on credit. That, because the underwriters will still look at your credit again, and if it goes down, you might be disqualified for getting that house. So that's one of the big mistakes where people do. They do a purchase in between buying a house. That's the biggest mistake. So that's what I can address. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Miriam, for catching that. So if you will allow us, we would like to do a quick recap. And of course, I know we are a complete 30 minutes over what we had agreed, which was going to be an hour. But I feel like this was such an intense conversation, and the conversations and the questions that are coming in, some of them are very personal, and they're coming from a place of loss and guidance and confusion. And we had to give it some time because we're doing this for the first time, and we would love to do it again so that we're able to solve all these questions as they come, or even have just a session for Q&A where we're able to get all the questions out so you feel confident when investing, especially in Kenya, or anything that you want to do back home, especially investing. So allow me to take this time to thank my entire panel. You guys have been incredible. Miriam from Kansas, Missouri. I want to thank Nelly from Kenya, Kenyanjui from Kenya, Dismas, who is in the diaspora, Pauline Mwangi as well, who's in the diaspora, and of course, Don Matthias is also in the diaspora. Thank you so much, guys, for taking time to have this very important conversation. Again, the backdrop of people losing property, losing land, losing so much money that you worked so hard for, over things that we would have sorted out if only we started that conversation right. And as we have said before, this, of course, has been powered by Guri Build. And if you're looking at this, you can see their details. If you can quickly take a screenshot of the details, but they're also available on their website. And I'm literally looking at their website right now. You can reach out to them. Their phone line is there. Their email is there. The website is their www.guribuild.co. And you can get all the questions. I know Kenyan Julian and his team are going to have an overwhelming flow of questions, and people who want to verify, people who want to move their consulting over to you, who want you to just take over buildings that are happening right now. And of course, if you'd like to reach out to Miriam and you'd like to reach out to Nelly, if you could quickly given you details as quickly as possible.
If you want to reach me, Facebook is quick. Just search Miriam Fry and you'll find me on Facebook. DM, Instagram is the same, Miriam Fry Realtor, and you'll find me.
Okay, Nelly?
I've sent my email to the chat. You can pick that. My firm has a website. If you just search Mudhoni Wainaina, I'll come up and I'll put a link on that and you can contact. But I'm very easy. Even on LinkedIn, just search Nelly Wainaina. Should be the first person to pop up.
That pops up. Thank you so much. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always forward them to Guri, the team at Africa Diaspora. Of course, Afro Diaspora, we will direct you to any of the panelists that we've had today. I want to take this special moment to thank all of you for being patient, for walking the journey with us, and for allowing us to help illuminate what owning property and developing property in Kenya looks like, especially for those who really want to do it and do it right. And with that, allow me to, of course, if you'd like to schedule a consultation, do not hesitate. Please do. All of them are available for you. Remember, Guri is here to make sure that you do it and you do it right so that there are no challenges when you're trying to come back home. And as Pauline said, you don't want to come and start in Kikuyu, like you're borrowing places to sleep up. We don't work like that. Yeah, you want to come and sleep in your own home, decent, comfortable. You've worked too hard to start borrowing mahali kwa kulala. It's not how we're going to roll. So make sure that you reach out to them. And with that, allow me to close this. My name is Cynthia Mwangi. I have been your host for this webinar, and it has been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to doing this again. Of course, thanks to Dismas for being around. We thank Pauline as well for being around. And of course, my greatest gratitude to Don Matthias for making this possible. And of course, to Kenyan Jui for the sponsorship of this entire program. And with my closing remarks, this is what I will leave you with. Your dream of owning a property in Kenya is within reach. With expert guidance, very good expert guidance, trusted partnerships, and insights from today's session, it's time for you to make your vision an actual reality. And that, of course, is going to come with Guri Build. Thank you so much. Have a great day, good evening, good morning, and good night.